it does seem like it might be a bit too risky. So we'll just have to watch from afar, but really nice stuff from these guys. Just look at the mats on Queasy, Shio.
They've invested, man. They've really invested to get to this point, and they still don't have the zone. So I'll have to move in just a second. Being beside iDrop and Jerky, though. Apologies, the big drop in Jerky, though.
Yes.
They're in the right place. Let's hope the timing is good on when they actually end up moving in. It's going to be very difficult to find a foothold. Once again, some of the late movers in these zones end up being beside the bottom of a rock cliff or maybe somewhere else. Can't really see one side or one half of your position of where you are. iDrop actually chooses to move up and across. Not being in a troubling position is very nice. Girls and Shizo. Once again, lots of these dominant low ground teams not here this time. In this game, they'll be able to have a lot more space, faster, much quicker than before, and have possibly the biggest pedestal to get points, or pedestal to get points at this moment. Everyone also rocking in undisturbed to Greasy right now. I'm not seeing many people fall in the feed moving into this circle, but the north side will have to be the focus. I'm guessing desperate box fights will be had in the south if there are maybe one or two teams who are in trouble. But up north, there's still a few teams who are not in. Slowway, Screwy, moving through, and he's going to be a nuisance on the backside of some of these players who are really late in getting into the zone. A few picks, and that's Bubak down. That's one, and a lot of crucial mats for the man as well. Still below on Surge, though, and this is all about getting as many points as possible before you go down. You'd have to super Screwy in this moment as a solo player, making this much noise. Here's Chuck Slash his opponent, okay. Talking about disrespect, he rocks it in. Could be a crucial one he needed, though. This is gonna be so unfortunate for the man. 10-5, and he's gone. Did a lot to actually slow down the backside, though. Let's see who's holding some of these players towards the north. It's not gonna be ZND and Joe. They're a little bit more towards the south and middle of the map so far. It is still such, you know, just a cluster, a traffic jam all the way up top for the zone so far. Now everyone's gonna have to move once again. Barely any team pulls that next zone.
Yeah, and in terms of the teams who have been able to pull it, Ryzen and Payner pulling 50-50 will be huge for them. I'm trying to see if there's any other teams who really can make use of it, right? Obviously last game, Pink and Anas, they pulled 50-50, and we saw how far that was able to take them in their pursuit of a win. Obviously this time around they're not here, but other teams will be looking to emulate that kind of a performance.
I really want to see where Tayson and Chapix are in this moment right now. They're going to be up against Shizo and Grolls. Both teams are going to be playing two very different games. This should be one of the most exciting dual perspectives to watch for a team. One focused on being completely the center of attention on high ground. The other focused on being as silent as possible, just racking in consistent placement and a few eliminations on the low. Side Snakes will also be rocking in a very specific or a very similar spot to where we just saw Shizo. They're all about just moving between the lines and going for a bit of damage and picking up as many points as possible while working off of the pressure other people create. Talking about the ones that create that pressure, Queasy active right now. He's the one to pick up Lolis in the feed. ST down. They'll have a little bit of a say on what to do, but look who are the right beside on the left side of your screen. We have Jerky and iDrop, Tayson and Chapix, kind of the high ground apartment complex, ready to go and play the game. Meanwhile, everyone else is just sitting silent. They don't want to be the focus of anything. Who are some of the challengers here right now as well, too? Nano 8 and Lou on the other side, battling for a spot, both in separate built towers, seeing exactly what the zone will say. It'll give Hen and Queasy the first chance to drop some pressure, and the last leg to actually jump.
Yeah, we talked about how earlier, in terms of materials and resources, they weren't looking in the best position, but Hen has a harpoon, right? And that's going to be so key for them to actually stay in this game, because even though they're low on resources, if he can find loot in the storm, they'll be able to keep height. And the smallest opportunity they have to get height, and they're taking it. They want to hold on to it.
All the way up top, but they built a little bit of a ramp for anyone who's daring enough to kind of come up and take it. I called it a little bit, but everyone has their own focus on making it to the front portion of the zone. Tayson and Chapix too are just making sure taking off anyone down below. They finally look up and see this monstrosity of a build. Tayson's like, okay. They find another pad that's even closer. How did he even think and hear? This man is just, I don't know, has 8 eyes and 17 ears. Tayson finds a perfect path all the way in. This is all impromptu. Met up with Chapix as well, who found his own way into the zone from this side. Insane the way these guys just see the way the builds move in the zone.
We talked about how Creasy and Hen would take the opportunity, but they've actually been forced down. I drop in Juriki, the big drop, taking another shot at high ground. Can this finally be the game when they're able to hold on to it? I don't want to speak too soon, but we'll see Shizo and Grolls, the first place team at the moment. We know how dominant they've been able to be on mid and low ground, but can they continue up that pace? Grolls actually will go down. They're below on Surge, and so things are looking really difficult for these guys in their attempt to keep that hot first place spot.
Not even in a good clutch spot right now. Whenever you're a solo player, you want to take your teammates mass, the utility they have, every option you have as at your disposal as a team. But unfortunately, Grolls was full piece. No chance for Shizo to get back into that box. He's going to have to work with just what he's got, which is half the power of the duo completely. So going for a little bit of rattling damage on the walls, but doesn't find any connections from this layer so far. Has to drop down soon, but as soon as he does, his mats will melt. He only has about 5 boxes to make. This is your first place positions POV on the top right of your screen. Meanwhile, Jerky and iDrop on the left side still did take everything all the way from height. Knazy and Podesai ready to ramp up down bottom. They're one of the most powerful duos we see so far. On the bottom right, they're now moving free, getting ahead of the zone, looking for their positions. Shizo stuck on the backside, has a chance for a few floppers left and right, and going for a sidewinder pump shot. That's going to be huge for him, but drops down with the improper timing. One more flopper to take is desperation, but he goes down, and now it's a chance possibly for Chapix to wrap back and take that first place spot. As I say that though, Henqueezy still alive. This man is in a world of hurt. He's feeling that pain, still moving right past it and surviving so far in the zone.
Yeah, and there was a med miss down there. That's going to be huge, right? He already had one in his inventory, but if he has any hope of making some sort of crazy solo clutch, the med miss will be huge. Just seeing Snazy realizing that for himself as well. He needs that to stay in this game. The zone's actually going to pull back towards him, and that's going to be huge, right, for Snazy and Podesai. Can they claim and take control of low ground as it pulls down this little hill here as well? This is going to be a crucial moment for them in their pursuit of a win.
Chapix still alive, though, getting a few picks inside that feed. iDrop and Jerky also taking apart duo after duo all the way up top. It's a duo that's also alive in that first place spot. Tayson and Chapix meeting hand in hand inside their builds. Relvis was down to Chapix before, and Krusty gets found out by Tayson galore. It's huge for this duo right now, and they pick up the mats as well. They're ready to go. Look at the space they have left. This must be their game.
Yeah, this is easy as pie for Tayson and Chapix. They run this layer. But how many more can they dominate? They want it all right now.
Easy as pie, but they're crunched like a pastry inside that mid-ground as well. It's going to be tough for them to move through the sauce. Meanwhile, Podesai and Snazy, 360 degrees of pressure, and somehow they're making sense of it. Move past on their own lair. Jerky and iDrop actually start to tighten things down from high ground. Looking down below, they have the med-miss opportunity as well as the harpoon. It's all wood builds. It big piece takes. It's on the Chapix too. He's at half HP. Tayson desperate to move inside these boxes, but Jerky's moving forward to have even more pressure. All walls controlled, but Tayson finds a little bit of reprieve, some escape. This man is just too fast. He has permanent sprint mode on, and Jerky loses him.
Yeah, Jerky had to be careful there. Needs to reload his weapons, right? You can go down to take fights, but you need to make sure you're well equipped. Tayson will go down. That's our first place team. And so the battle is not done. Snazy will go at it. Podesai now left alone. Snazy gets knocked in, so a clutch potential here for Podesai. Can he drop down in the right amount of time? Jerky is still up, right? He's playing. It looks like he's a solo, but no. iDrop, his teammate, is still there. The elimination finally comes through. And so it's a 2v2. Well, actually, no, there's more teams in this one. My bad, Ryzen down below. He has a handful to deal with. Hookah will come through. His teammate, his orgmate, running into him, and he deals with that. Juriki now not done with the battle himself. He needs to be careful because Podesai hits hard and hits heavy. iDrop now trying to clean up for what his teammate couldn't do. Can he take Podesai out in this moment? You can see how difficult it is. The zone is closing Podesai away. He's tanking that damage, and iDrop is able to just stay up and wait as the zone continues to take Zeston all the way down below. He needs to make use of his med miss. He needs to get his HP up while he can before it's too late. Podesai, well, just an inch of HP. It might be too late for him as well if he's not careful.
He's found corn and bandages as well. This man's ready to go. All iDrop has is 120 HP of that med miss to use. Someone's about to lock in. Zeston's already started to take a little bit of the damage on the backside. Does iDrop have enough heals? Can he find Zeston as well? Now he understands what's going down. If he doesn't get shot a little bit, he might take that fall damage too all the way towards the floor, but they're both gonna go for the heals. Who has it? It's iDrop. This man is too healthy. This man is too powerful. He overheats in that 8th zone, gets so many eliminations, and the victory royale.
It's the big drop with a victory royale, a heal-off. No, that's not the type of heal-off we've been accustomed to seeing today, but definitely one he will be proud of. The med miss came in clutch, and the big drop was able to close it out for iDrop and Juriki, and you can see what it means to them. Juriki, ecstatic, brilliant, brilliant stuff for that duo. Game 4 goes to them.
I really like the split they had too, sending Juriki down to do as much damage as possible, interrupt PotisAI, maybe put some pressure on his Eston down too. That was a lot of trust in iDrop, or the big drop once again by Sorry all the way up top. But let's see exactly what the analyst does have to say about that one, because that was a very thick game.
Thank you so much, Shia, Wager, and Levin. My goodness, you love to see those moments we can like tune in with the players, have those player cam moments, just see them get excited. That's what this is all about, baby. Game number 4, I believe that was, if I'm not mistaken, Reese. You know me, I never learned how to count or read, so don't hold anything against me. Thank you so much for that confirmation, Reese. Wow, one for the books. A lot of chaos now in this last game, but I kind of really just want to go back and touch on like PotisAI there and Snazy. Their awareness on those mid-game tarps were kind of next level, man. They looked so clean for a long time, and to make it into top 3, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, for them, that's kind of like a classic playstyle that we've seen Snazy do way back when in trios, right? A long time ago, that mid to low ground playstyles where he's always been super good. And PotisAI, like, is a player that it's so funny because I don't know that much about him, right? When I was looking back, I feel like every tournament I hear about PotisAI, I see PotisAI, and when I looked him up, I was like, he's only made one FNCS finals back in Chapter 2, Season 6. And I just assumed that he'd made way more than that, but this could be the time for him now.
Yeah, and I want to talk about iDrop and Juriki, right? iDrop and Juriki from that high ground. They got a little bit of a lucky zone pulled back slightly into that 7th and 8th moving zone. But, you know, you can always rely on iDrop. You know, this guy is the absolute solo demon.
Yeah,
the big drop. Sorry about that. He's the absolute solo god, right? Qualified multiple solo cash cups. And when you want someone in a 1v1v1 in those final situations, he's the guy with the nerves of steel and is going to be able to do it. I like, by the way, how Juriki dropped down there, really trying to play the format, trying to get those extra eliminations, and at the end, of course, seeing his face cam there is always lovely to see.
Absolutely, and you know what? In 3 of the 4 games so far, they've been on height at some point, right? They've been always repeatedly trying to get it. This time, it finally paid off for them. They were able to hold that out because none of the other height teams were really left in the game. We saw Queasy and Hen on very early in the 5th zone. However, they took it with minimal materials. Then we saw a huge material investment in that first moving because they didn't have a launch pad. So it's like, after that, Pinkin and Ass weren't in the game either. So a lot of the big height teams were gone, which allowed Juriki and iDrop to capitalize on that.
Yeah, and I thought it was going to be the return of Hen and Queasy, right? You know, they're finally an end game that they made it into, but as you saw in 50-50, the mat count not looking too hard, about 50 builds per person there. And, you know, unfortunately, they're not going to be one of those teams that are going to do it today, I feel like.
Man, that's a tough pill to swallow, but again, a few more qualifiers. We're still playing for series points. Much can still happen. Let's take a look at our standings and see how we can prepare ourselves for games 5 and 6. Remember, once again, top 5 is the cutoff. That's where we're trying to make it. If we can get in that top 5, we can auto-qualify to finals and just take a deep breath. Take a look at our top 5 right now, Reese.
I mean, one of the interesting things here is that between 2nd to 3rd was like 40 points before that last game. Now that margin is definitely narrowed up a little bit with a lot of the other teams' potential. So it seems like Tayson and Chapix in first. Look, they've probably qualified in the next 2 games. Snazy and PotisAI kind of the same. Maybe not. You know, they could go down off Swan. What I would really want to look at is Relvis, Krusty in 4th. You got Kovacs and Zrox popping off, who are now all the way up. And then from that win, the big drop, and Juriki now up in 6th alongside Satan and Dark as well. So these guys are all super close to that ability to qualify here. So I want to see, there's 2 more games left. Can any of these teams manage to keep that consistency up through the next 2 games?
I don't like the curse there that you did, Reese, on Tayson and Chapix. You never know. 2 games, like you saw, 14 places above for iDrop and Juriki. Anyone can do that, and Tayson and Chapix could fall out of the top 5. So I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed because the Reese curse is kind of crazy.
Definitely.
With just 2 more games to go, we're gearing up right now. This qualifier 1 is coming to a very quick conclusion. So let's find our seats on the bus. Let's find some popcorn. Let's get ready for this next game. Shy Wager 11 2K over your beautiful faces.
I don't have popcorn here, Zeke, but what I do have is an appetite for more amazing games, 11. I mean, some of the top names not in the last one. Are you liking the way it's going with these up-and-comers jumping up spots, or do we want to see that big, hot, tough action?
No, that's what it's all about, right? I think even when you look at round 4, the teams that qualified through, right? After round 3 yesterday, people were sort of saying, wow, there's a lot of teams who we would have expected to call that didn't, right? And so if you sleep and you miss out on your opportunity, people will be there to take it, right? And that's what it's all about. Of course, some of these newer names have been impressing over the past couple seasons. And at some point, right, people will have to start taking over. And I think we're starting to see that today.
Yeah, and even if you aren't asleep, even if you're awake or ready to go on your POIs, there's some people who are ready to put you to bed, right? We're seeing these third-party things happen game after game. It was Tayson and Chapix in the last one, DKS and Bat Sniper sometimes. What can we expect in this one, Lev?
Look, if it's the case of Greasy Grove, that's a deep, deep sleep, right? They ain't waking up from that anytime soon, and that pains me to say, but, you know, we've seen some domination. We're going to probably see some more domination, but let me not speak too soon. We've got Game 5 coming up right now.
All right, 2 more to go. One more chance to kind of fix mistakes, and after that, it's a lock-in game where it's kind of the last chance to do whatever you can. This might be a slight switch up for some teams, but everyone should be in trouble right off spawn. 3 teams over here so far in Cuddle, 1 flying across. That's Lolis, doesn't want anything to do with this fight so far, and Girls is already down.
Yeah, that's real tough. You're seeing Shizo's able to get the pick-me-up there.
Oh, okay. Reverse sleep happening over at Greasy. ADN finally going down for the first time. That's Tanano, a new team that's landing there.
Well, that's what I was actually going to say, right, in terms of before we saw the fight happening at Camp Cuddle. The nature of the bus path meant that the team that was third party in the Greasy fight would have landed first, right? And they would have been able to get a third party again, and that's what actually happened. I believe Vortex went down to Leon Flares, right? Which obviously isn't one of the teams who you'd expect it to be in the nature of those fights. Janice actually just going down there in the feed, so we didn't get to see Greasy, but a lot went down there, and the bus path played a big, big factor into what actually happened.
Look at Tilted right now. Savage, Benji, and Jackson all going for it. I think Benji gets knocked, but that's just a after-the-fact factor of what actually happened inside the drop, and it's going to be Benji and Savage that end up winning that off-spawn fight and are chilling. Still, this one a very important one. Dictates if one of the top 3 teams gets to keep playing. Auto shot in hand. Shizo needs to find the ceiling fast.
You can see he's hunting, he's running.
Come on, Bacon.
Oh, he's getting first
Just give it
party.
to him.
He was getting shot from Camp Cuddle, I believe, as well. Belushi and Hydro. Not seen much of these guys, but they came in clutch in that moment. For Shizo, at least, but now he'll have to get away, make sure he can pick rolls up.
Oh, they're running. My man's farming chests and roofs, and Belushi and Hydro are running. Not sure about this one. We'll keep an eye on that feed to see exactly what breaks down. Analytics squeeze up against Hookah and Zestin. Condo Canyon looks like Zestin already taken down. And someone else as well. No, it's Analytics just picking up one of the eliminations so far. They're going to just wrap up Hookah, and that's how you finish a fight fast.
Yeah, and that's a team that was really deep into last game, right? So to go off spawn like this is rather unfortunate, but I'm sure the Frenchies won't mind. And then let's just squeeze. Still yet to have the sort of game that I think many people will want them to. It's Yandy and Joe in a fight again off spawn. Something we've seen a bunch. I think I actually saw Yandy complaining on Twitter about being contested and having to fight off spawn, but look, just win your fights, mate, and maybe they'll stop contesting. I wouldn't contest if I was them, if that helps, but I don't know what that does. Or would I? Is Yandy taking a couple shots here? I don't know, maybe I would actually. Just gotta be careful.
And then talking about the re-skirts on the desk, it feels like every time you say something, Levin, the opposite just straight up happens, like in an instant.
Love to see it. This is why I don't want Tayson to an FNCS, you know?
Okay, true. I like you covering your bases, man. Okay, you say that. It takes us down to Ryzen. Fault.
Oh my goodness.
This is your fault, and Chad has seen it too.
I'm throwing. I'm actually throwing right now. That's crazy. That is.
Well, how did
crazy.
Ryzen pick that one up?
I don't know.
There's just no way.
We just have to hope. Well, I'm hoping Chapix can do the little clutch. I don't know.
Why would you say that? Why would you say that? Now he's gonna go down too.
Oh dear. Was Yandy's done a brilliant job while we were waffling on about curses and whatnot. Picked up 2 eliminations here. And they've just been really dominant at sign-up station, so I don't know why anyone would want to contest him. This is what happened over at Command Cavern. Chapix actually was already down, so they're actually out. That's a first place team. And so this isn't even, this is, no. I'm not letting you guys do this. This is not 11 Jinx. What, who were the guys on the desk waffling about, oh, hopefully they keep their first place? Who was it, Reese, that Scottish guy? He was talking mad. I don't know what he was saying. Stop jinxing my duo. They're upset, right, that I'm on course to win the prediction prize. So they're doing everything they can. I am. They're in first.
I don't know, man. Anas is still in the lobby somewhere. So.
Yeah, man.
You know how it goes. You know how it
Give
goes.
me a break.
Last 2 game Anas is kind of a different warrior, but the same beast, is what, as a wise man once said. But we'll see. Need more Reese, I guess, to make some nice calls, because yeah, it makes it interesting when that first place team goes down sometimes.
Yep, it definitely creates a power struggle, right? A battle for that first place that we've seen play out so many times. And Snazy and Podesai will be vying for it.
Could talk about, you know, something that I feel like Boop and Reese have been keeping under the rug, which is their hotspot pick of Queasy and Hen. I mean, Levin, let's talk about it. What's going on today with them? You know what I'm saying?
It's a sensitive point, you know, that I'm sure
Yeah.
they don't want me to talk about. Psych! We're gonna talk about it. Queasy and Hen. It's not been great. I'll be honest, I feel bad. I feel bad because those are my guys.
I was about to say, man, you're about to go in. Like, what the heck?
I didn't want to go in, but I was in a call with Queasy before FNCS started, like, and he knew himself that if they didn't get zones, it was always going to be rough, right? Like, and they have genuine, like, I don't like to be the guy to like put things down to luck, because at the highest level, the whole goal is to mitigate luck, right, in your favor and go that way. But genuinely, with the changes, them not having vehicles, playing at the northernmost part of the map, when you get so many south zones, it does just become so difficult to really do anything in these lobbies, and that's been a very big hindrance in their momentum. Again, all we can do is hope that these last couple games sort of go much better for them, because they are a top duo, right? They've been top this whole season. They obviously won FNCS. They're accustomed to winning games in the qualifying stages rather early on as well, so uncharacteristic performance from them, but they'll rise soon, I believe.
I think the best thing for them too is that this is just the first qual where they're getting all these qualms out of the way as well, right? Like how it feels to rotate in the zone, how it feels to play with some of the best teams. I mean, 5 of the best ones here we're watching right now won't be here in the next qual. You have to assume that Hen and Queasy will, because it's Hen and Queasy, so guaranteed they qual for finals at some point. Until then, though, they have a few weeks to figure out what to do when they don't have zone, because yes, it is very difficult. There has to be something, because you're not always going to get it. And we've seen how this season is with south zones. It feels like that desert is very much more so preferred in this chapter than any other.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how many south zones you get out here. You got to talk to your guy in the back, ask him what's going on.
I think he's on vacation somewhere in the desert right now, so it actually makes a lot of sense.
You know what? He's just making it easier for himself.
Oh man, Relvis Krusty versus Thecco and company.
Them fights where, you know, you or either you or your opponent is using a shield keg are always hilarious, because like I just stand there and like my opponent's just healing me while I'm fighting it, you know? And fair play, he's being healed as well, but like he's just straight up healing me. Always weird.
It's a liquid time, you know? Like you just wanna get healed. I'm trying to find some type of Joker pun, but it is, you literally just said the most literal thing possible. There was no
like
gaps in the
I
line.
didn't leave any room for like interpretation, any fun or anything. No, just,
That's fine. Happens sometimes.
yeah, no.
You mentioned these guys slightly before we started talking about shield kegs. Snazy and Bloodasai, I think, are the most graduated team coming into this disqualifier. Let me explain how that works. Like, I'm guessing, you know, Z Andy, Podesai, maybe even Floki Kovet, you could toss him in here as well. Kind of coming in, Musashi Mabuka as well. As to will they do well? Will they find a footing? I feel like Podesai and Snazy have found the best one out of all teams so far.
Yeah, obviously Reese talked a lot about Podesai there on the desk in terms of just sort of, you know, how he's very much an established name in competitive EU Fortnite, right? Like if you're in the streets for EU Fortnite, you know Podesai, but you know he's almost not accomplished as much as you'd expect for someone of his namesake. But these guys have impressed, man. And so from going to 50th in round 3, maybe a cheeky first place for them today, that would be quite the something. Something we've seen on the E before, right? Way back in the day in some of the old competition we saw. This is actually really nice for them. I don't think we've seen much of this in terms of them taking out the South Sleepy team. So that's huge, right? Obviously, Vettel and Lotix, the team landing South Sleepy uncon. Mehen and Queasy having a bit of a word with them. An aggressive word with them.
Having a shout. I mean, well, it's kind of different on the other side of the map. No conversation being had. No person A talks than person B. It's silence as people are just kind of sitting up in their bases. What is Snazy? One of them. I guess this has to be the game for Hen and Queasy, though, to really move forward and just be able to win off this game, or maybe even get in that top 5, get some control, some essence of it. But it feels like that zone will just keep pulling down, down, and down. Astro with a quick boost up. Okay, maximum accuracy. He picks that one apart and down.
So we saw that fight last game, and it was the reverse, where they were just in Storm, but Astro lost. So congrats, Astro. That's my guy. Just shouting out all my friends today, aren't I? Pretty unprofessional by me, actually, if anything.
You were talking about what was it? The duo tree? Explain that to me. What is
okay, so everybody, right?
Yeah.
We all have duo trees, right? And a duo tree is just like the link of your duo. So like if you have once played with Shire Wager and Shire Wager played with Mongrel, then Mongrel is on your duo tree via Shire Wager. Do you get it?
Okay, yeah, I'm following.
And I was just making the point that my duo tree is nuts. I'm like my duo tree. I might be the greatest Fortnite player of all time when it comes down to duo tree.
Okay.
That's not a pro. That's not a pro.
Yeah. Explain to me your duo tree.
So my duo tree is we could be here for a long time, right? Obviously, I played with a big Trippen, right? Trippen's obviously playing with Thomas HD this season, so Thomas is on my duo tree. Thomas HD's played with Tayson. So Tayson's on my duo tree. You know, I got, you know, the likes of, I got so many people on my duo tree at this point, man. I can't even keep track. I got Mongrel, Benji, all of them on my duo tree somehow from people I played with. So like, honestly, if we were to add up my duo tree, I think I have like every single FNCS victory plus some from like NA as well. I go cross region with my duo tree, right?
So that's a duo bridge.
It's a forest.
Duo forest, yeah. That's insane. I can't even I'm not going to pretend to even try to match that. Starting with Trippern, I mean, you have a pretty big leg up, so.
Yeah, he kind of carried me, too. he's carried me a long, long way, I'll tell you that.
Oh, man. All right, now, duos taking turns carrying each other in terms of total elimination points per game. Sometimes Snazy has the edge. Today, I feel like Podesai has just been popping off, though. They're struggling a little bit on the back foot. In zones like this, Levin, where do you like to be in general? Are you a center man? Are you a line man who's trying to always be on the move? What is the 2K lifestyle?
Well, for me, before the changes were made, I'd been grinding the scrims, right? Because I'm a grinder, you know, I'm on my grind set. And I was landing Rocky, and I had an IO car there, rip my IO car. I also used to always have a launch pad, so I used to just like playing center zone, right? Center zone, ping people off, get my surge. That's the sort of guy I am, right? And so my straps not really as functional now, sadly, but Podesai, Snazy, they're not in the greatest of spots. They're being forced into taking this fight, and it doesn't actually go their way. So second place goes down. That's going to be huge as well. First and second place no longer in this game, and that just means everybody else below, again, has a leg up. Grows and tries it. My memory wrong. Okay, sorry. My memory's bugging out right now. I was going to say, are they still up? I know we saw them fight off spawn, but I completely forgot if they're still up or not. I dropped Juriki are up in 6th. Pink and Anas just went down, so unlucky Shio.
Yeah, we did that thing with the girls in Shizo where like the screen went full yellow sepia and then it would said to be continued. You know what I mean?
Cool,
he was farming a chest and Haijo and Belusi were rushing the hill.
Yeah, cool.
Do with that info what you will. Yeah.
Well, Groves just went down in the feed, so
Okay.
there we go. There's the update you guys were looking for, and I was looking for. That team's gone. So a lot of teams in the top 5 are basically down, is what we're getting at. If you
Yes.
didn't figure that out before, yeah.
Did we see Chapix fall completely or no?
Chapix was knocked when Tayson fell, so
Okay, so
it was a full
they're-
wipe.
yeah.
Full wipe.
They're fully gone. Anas and Pink. I hope this is not a complete elimination. Is this from the cannon damage?
This is a complete elimination. There.
Okay,
Actually, wait,
we
no, is
also
it?
cut
Actually,
off.
you might not be.
I saw a player icon, like an arrow, going straight for that build
Yeah.
while Pink was going for the res. So I don't think they made it either.
Well, another game where we can see a shake-up. At the end of the day, we're getting closer and closer to that final game. And at the end of it, you want to be sitting in top 5. That is the ticket, the golden ticket to the FNCS finals in a couple weeks' time. You don't want to miss that one, I promise you that.
Oh wait, okay. So did you mention that Grolls went down completely, or that he was just in the feed?
So Grulls just went down. Grulls went down in the feed.
Well, on the bottom left, we're
up.
watching different games. Yeah.
Yeah, he got res. He got res.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Grulls went down. He went down to himself. I think he either it was a storm or something, or just something. He went down to himself. Maybe 4 damage. Actually, I don't think it was 4 damage. Either way, Grulls is back up in the game, so they're not completely out. If I did say that they were completely out, apologies. My bad. I'm nothing
No, it's
but
just my understanding. It's my ears are the ones that are off.
That's probably me.
No, for sure. No, it's my apologies. It's my apologies.
no,
It's
it's
my apologies.
apologies.
No. So let's not apologize for Andy and Joe's position right now. Look at this. We talked about them needing control. They finally have it. It's just in the 4th zone on the edge.
I was waiting for you to realize that zone was about to pop in, so everything you're setting up right now could just be like absolutely tragic. Hey, instead of us just waffling, they can just put updates to the top and let us know who's been eliminated. So I'm just not going to speak anymore. And you guys can see that.
Clement Floki. For how? This was the game. Man, all these like, you know, runner-ups, as if someone falls, they have a chance to fill the spot. It's just so, I don't know, surprising to me when they go down. I feel like they should have that one game on lock, but who knows what happened on the south side. We're locking in to the fortress for now. And this is where I think this is one of the most difficult zones to traverse in this game, no 11. It could literally be mountainous. We could go straight up, you know, chapter 2 vibes in the ocean. There's so many opportunities.
Yeah, the fortress is an interesting area. We all do play the game. I'm sure many people share the same sentiment as me when I try to avoid the fortress. All the AI just constantly hounding you down can get tiring. But the pros can deal with it, they're fine.
You don't know why they're hounding you specifically. They're just jealous of the duo tree, man. There's not much else to say. You know?
Okay, man. I'm gonna start getting memed for this duo tree stuff now. People are gonna really think I like hold that close to my heart. But
Oh, okay, let's see what the big drops got. Hen and Queasy also in here, 2 of the biggest duos to follow right now inside this game. Shiza looking to take that lead away from Chavix and Tayson as well. A 10-point differential for him. So Chavix and Girls, or not Chavix and Girls, Shiza and Girls need to make sure they survive for at least, 5 more minutes. Past that 5th zone. And into the 6th and moving. iDrop trying to look for anything right now. This is going to be enough damage to be up and above that. Some people falling inside that feed though. X squeeze down to Mappy. Shy's on a tough spot. The 420 damage above, they are completely fine.
yeah, you saw iDrop there. He hit that guy for white HP. Usually that's a trigger to just sort of relentlessly continue to hound them down. He was nice in the fact that he stopped to heal up, but I would expect him to start focusing them again. You can see he sort of aimed down his sight, looking at it. And this is going to be huge now as that 5th zone pops. Who will it favor? Who can use that momentum? Shiza and Grolls have done a great job of using that momentum thus far. We saw they pulled it last game, but this time they won't have that same benefit. A very tough distance for them to travel. Now, I don't believe Grolls has a launch pad in his inventory.
Might be a few drop towards that south side. There's a few airdrops towards where the safe zone is. Some teams possibly battling over it. in just a little bit of a second. Jackson Boa
That's tough.
gonna be constricted right now. Barely any room to breathe. This is gonna be tough for this duo, but they're gonna make the most of it. Only white HP available for Boa, so you can't even top off with that shield. Drax also getting into his flopper pool. This is so bad. In terms of even fighting a fight, you're not gonna be that strong either. Basically just operating at 50 HP at all times. Boa's gonna hopefully wait out the zone. One person needs to go down, and apparently it's just him.
Yeah, and you saw Shizo and Grows capitalize on his teammate Jax. And they got that loot and they sort of tack sprinted out. Nobody was able to sort of be in that area to recycle a pad by any means. And so they're just gonna have to sprint their way. And you can see they're trying to make their way onto the pad that's actually there by default at the fortress. But with such low HP, you'd expect Shizo to go down. Boa wasn't able to hit the shot. He can use the pad though and make his way in, but with such low HP, 1 HP. Oh my goodness. Nah. 1 HP. You've got to be kidding me. They've stayed in this game, and what a way to do it as well.
There's a reality where that spray from Boa hits, and this game goes so different. You see the mats that were put down were all from Grows beforehand as well. Shizo has the majority of them. Then the 1 HP Shizo has the utilities all on Shizo. The elims, the momentum from this game, are riding on this man who got in with a sliver. And right now we look at who else is not allowed to play. Edison down, and I'm seeing Mappy pick up another elimination. This man is really rolling with the pressure and the momentum this game. I want to see exactly what their duel is about. Belusi and Hydro up against Malibuka and Mustache, who've made it here too. A team where, once again, I feel like they just hyperscale when they get into these games. The later it goes, the stronger they get.
Though we talked about it, right? Being able to make the most of your opportunities in the game so you have them, especially when you can just not spawn. And we'll see how they play. You can see the zone pulling back towards the fortress to that west side, going over some elevation as well. And we'll see how these teams deal with that. Juriki and iDrop up on height, they'll be uber aware of what they have to do. And if they can sort of climb up and beat that battle. Shizo and Grows have their eyes on some pads, and you'll see they wait one out, and it finally does get to them. And so now they can make their way towards that first zone. And this is going to be a huge game for them if they want to secure that spot in the top 5. They're in second, and they can take first. iDrop and Jerky in the back of the zone, finally taking their pad, or recycling one, making sure they're the highest up in the sky, and they can land back on high ground where they most are comfortable. And Relvis and Krusty, another team that's done very brilliantly, but on lower layers. And maybe this is why, sneaking in the back of the top, doing some damage there, Relvis, but not getting too greedy, not overextending, just staying in this game with his teammate by him.
The way they're moving on the top right now, Relvis and Krusty are on your screen. I mean, this was like a secret spy mission. Box to box, mantling over different layers, and as the pressure escalates, so does the low ground in the zone. We're kind of moving up mountains and then jumping across right and left. It is Belusi and Hydro that have height for now. Jerky is ready with iDrop to maybe go for that big jump. They have the potential and the mats to be able to do it, but the space might be running out. There's so many different types of mountains in the way, and now we're even moving even more north in this zone. Jerky down with so much damage needed to be got, and iDrop actually falls. This is going to be huge for the potential for this duo. They get fragmented in half. Jerky still has the power to take down everyone in his lair. It's his space, and you cannot invade.
Juriki hitting some big shots there. This is his time to solo clutch. You won't be able to do it from a height just yet. But if he can stay in this game, that will be huge. They are just outside of that top 5. Shizo! Oh my goodness! Hitting some huge shots in that moment. Keeping his team in the game. Groves isn't there, but he certainly is. 4 elimination. He has all of his team's eliminations up to this point. And he might not be done yet if he can keep hitting shots like that.
Everyone now fragmented. There's a huge cost in moving that zone. Height has lost their partner all the way down towards the low ground. It's just solo games. Meanwhile, Mustache Malibuka, they stay just together, unsegmented, ready to go up towards that second height layer. And Mustache, there it is. Here's the POV. They're just rattling down. It's the effects of a minigun almost, the way these guys are utilizing the pressure. They're so good, and they have so much space to work with.
Pre-edit plays in the end game. These guys have unted confidence. They are reaching ultimate levels of comfortability in this lobby right now. And that's going to be a big problem for anybody that gets in their way.
potential with the 6 chuck splashes available as well. They have so much to work with all towards the end. Oh my goodness, it's 12, 13 in Mustach's inventory. He has the loadout of gods right now for this position. The best possible place he can be in with the best loot as well. No one else really realizes it. Jerky now out of fuel, out of ammo, out of everything in terms of a position, and he's lost in the low ground too. Everything's starting to move up. Mustache and Malabuka basically on the perfect layer. Everyone else squeezed, can't breathe all the way here in low ground. Relvis and Questy have a little bit of a pocket of air to kind of work with. Darker going down, but this is where pressure really starts to ride up.
Yeah, and this is going to be tough, right? They didn't have enough mats to be able to close teams off as they went up the hill, and so they're just going to have to go back into the zone, use all those chug splashes they have, and this might be huge. They might actually be able to outplay this. Rising in Painter, though, they're suspicious. They know that there's a team in the zone, and so they need to be uber aware of anybody trying to take it. Malabuka, Mustache, they've actually low-padded back into the zone. They've got a bit of mats to hold on to, but they're now trying to fight for high. They need to be careful. Is it going to be too early? Can they actually hold on? The chug splashes are dwindling, but their shots are hitting. They now have high. They forced them off, and this is their game for the taking. They want to do another one.
What a way to get that high ground. Big shots from the backside from Mustache. Malabuka's there with the wrap down. It's like watching an arm and a hand work together at the same time. They're reading each other's minds on these takes. As a result, though, Max Free pushed down towards the low. He always hits those big shots. Mustache and Malabuka are there. They want to win this game single-handedly by themselves. Malabuka now low for the moment. There'll be a cost to this fight. Krusty melts in the zone. What a way to own a VR. Mustache and Malabuka are just on fire today.
They don't get many chances to do this fighting off spawn, but the games that you give them, they take them wisely. A brilliant performance showing us what they can do. Pre-edit, but I still can't get over the fact that they were doing some pre-edits out here. The 13 splashes, these guys were set up for victory.
They took a pit stop. They literally took a timeout mid-end game, healed up, padded back in, and said, oh yeah, we gotta win. I mean, I've not seen the likes of that before from a duo. It's always a solo type of play. That might be one of the most interesting VRs we've seen so far in Europe.
Yeah, very, very impressive stuff. And we cannot forget about Krusty and Relvis, who did so well. Second place is huge for a team that's already in the top 5. They have etched their way potentially into the FNCS finals. Guys on the desk, you guys need to hit us up with what's going on in the standings, because that game was huge for everybody in that lobby.
But, Levin, where did they get 13 splashes from? Where was this? They stopped by the store on the way to this game. They're like, hey, let's just stock up on splashes. Let's make sure we just eliminate a bunch of players. 13 splashes, Reese.
Yeah, with 13 splashes, I mean, you just have...
Look at me go. Nice one. Good stuff. Sorry, I totally interrupted. A little technical problem on my side. I was about to say it was dropping fire, trust me. One of the best things is that they had 13 splashes, but that was only on Mustache. Malabuka himself also had more, and we saw that when they went back into the zone, you started to see them using them in the heals. They were one layer apart, and they were just splashing themselves at like different times, so double wasting. And I thought, this seems a little bit off, but the retake from them was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and I was thinking after the last game, they were a little bit invisible. You know, Malabuka and Mustache not in an end game, and all of a sudden, they come out with an explosiveness. I don't even know what I just witnessed in this game. They were just jumping in, and as I mentioned at the start of this broadcast, they love their pre-edits off on the high ground. Dropping down, pre-editing, just jumping into boxes. And, you know, with that type of game, they must be somewhere in the top 5.
Yeah, and honestly, when I saw them in endgame, I saw them go for the pre-edit play. At that moment, you know, I think it was, what, 20 players still left alive? I was like, these guys won this game. You just from that moment, it was like you could tell they had that confidence. You could tell that they were on a roll, and that was just going to keep going uphill.
It was either them, Reese, or it was going to be whoever eliminate them, right? You just find the elimination like 13 splashes, 3 floppers. What? You love to see it. I cannot believe. Guys, super quick. This is the first time we've actually seen Storm Surge be prominent in qualifier number 1 games. You know, you're looking, it was right around 70 people, and everyone's just like, nope, no Storm Surge necessary. I guess that 3 points per elimination really showing up, huh, Boo?
Yeah, I mean, we did see it, and I believe after that we didn't see it at all. And obviously the 3 points per elimination really making a difference. But I think it just has to do a little bit with the meta as well. Lack of course, people just don't really know how to rotate. And we saw it happen to Podosai and Snazy this game. Unfortunately, they were top of the leaderboard. They were second place before this game. And nobody expected it, right? You thought, oh, these games are really unstacked. We can play it out. We can sort of have different positioning. But when Storm Surge creeps up, as it always does, sort of explode in that.
Seeing like so many fights all spawn. Like there's so many POIs that we've seen that just have like 5, well no, not that many of 5. One of them has 5 teams on it, and there's just fights every single place around the map, left, right, and center, and it's like the numbers just drops, but after it hits like that 70, it stays, and when it gets that 3rd and 4th zone, like then we're seeing Surge come into the moving zones at that point.
Yeah, and talking about those 5-0 spawns, right? Tayson going down early. Reese, I don't know what kind of magic you have. You did mention the top leader. They're so easily qualified. But there you go. First game down to Raisin. I mean, what's going to happen on the leaderboard then?
I don't know. I mean, they were first. I can't remember if anyone went higher than 157. I didn't see that. This was obviously the clip of them going down at that moment. You know what? I did curse them. So you know what I'm going to avoid doing is I'm going to avoid making any predictions on this team right now because they were in first place. Now that's what happened after I made a prediction the first time that they had going down. Try not caster curse them too much more. And here we go. This is what the actual leaderboards look like right now. They are down to 3rd. So absolutely, there is potential that if Tayson and Thomas, I was about to say Thomas HD, old habits from last season, who are now in 3rd place with 157, if they go down off spawn again, then Snazy, Podosai, Mustache, Malabuka, who will maybe be the team who would eliminate them, could overtake them and hit that qualification spot.
Yeah, and eliminations are running rampant, right? If you take a look at it, 25, 17, 18, and then 28 and 24 for Malabuka and Mustache. These guys that are fragging out, not even making it fully to endgame, they're the ones on top.
You know, what's interesting also is those Mustache and Malabuka elims are basically just from 2 games.
Yeah. How?
That's wild. How? I mean, especially to jump up from a 12 and to now be in top 5. Boop, that's where I want to be as like me and my duo.
Yeah, we all wish we could be in that position, but not everyone is Malabuka and Mustache, so.
That is absolutely fair indeed. We only have one more game left here. Remember, we're trying to get in the top 5. If you're just tuning in, you've missed 5 incredible games of Fortnite. But don't worry, stick around. This is the last one here in qualifier number 1. If you want to catch more action, NA East, NA West will be back later in the day. We also have the next qualifier 2 days from now if you want to enjoy more Fortnite action at the highest competitive level. But this is it. This is game number 6. Buckle up, everybody. We're doing this one last time in EU for the day. 11-2K Shia Wager. Over to you.
Here we go.
Thanks so much, Zeke, Boop, and Reese. One more game indeed, 2 players per team, 3 to 4 decisions, 11 that kind of dictate what happens here. Top 5 make it in because it's game number 6.
Yeah, this is huge, right? Of course, we've been setting everything up all day long, and now we finally have that final opportunity for teams to get their spot in the FNCS finals. The first round of teams to get that opportunity, and definitely a worthy bunch, right? These guys have been so impressive over the course of the 5 games, but it almost doesn't matter if you can't deliver now when it matters the most, when you need to have a big game to secure your spot in that top 5.
Yeah, and it's been seesaw. It's been flip-floppy for these teams. A lot of the time, sometimes they're not in the game, they're off of spawn. Sometimes it's a solo kind of clutch that's bringing them all the way here towards the top 5. So they have to make sure it lands on their side of the court here, 11, because if not, I mean, this is the last chance. It's the last hope.
Yeah, and with last chances, last hopes comes, last opportunities for teams to have any bit of joy off spawn, and we're going to have to see who will have the last laugh of today off spawn as we head into the final game of Qualifier 1, Round 4.
Here we go. Had a top 5 so far that's been looking pretty solid the entire day. A few people are jumping in. 12 spots jumped. Fire winning team. Last game, Mustache and Malabuka, they're in 5th place. 136 is what everyone's trying to catch up to. That point total will start to rise. One focus is that feed for now. Mustache taking down Anas. It happens almost immediately at Command Cavern. Looks like this duo is here to stay.
That is huge. That is absolutely massive. The desk talks about how they've not even had many games to actually even be able to play out, and when they have had them, they've done so well. If this can be another one, that will be massive. Shizo and Grols, nothing special here. You can see they're celebrating because they have had no issues whatsoever. like that cuddle area. Look, Vortex and Janice. Finally, some good news for them.
Even if they can't get towards that top 5, I mean, it could be a crazy, 30 bomb that happens. Who knows? Even then, I'm not sure if there's enough. But it's about the experience, about understanding how some of these end games even play and getting your duo dynamics down, getting a leg up on the competition, both on your POI, your rotations, and how things might look next week for your duo if you hopefully do make it in. That being said, this is exactly where I wanted to be. This is what I wanted to watch. Is Pink down? Answer is no. Just Anas taken away off the top blimp. Meanwhile, Malibu and Mustache, they just gobble up all the loot. Jason and Chapik's also probably waiting to see who they can target next.
Yeah, look, you talked about whether or not it will be possible for those guys. Yesterday on NA East, Peterbot did drop a 24 bomb on his own. As a team, they had 30. So I was in round 3, and it was NA. But,
That's okay. That's the operating thing I was about to say.
I was just joking, man. I was just playing around, man. That can't happen around the EU, man. NA, absolutely embarrassing. Letting someone get 20 bomb? Come on, man. How could they?
Peterbot is assembled alternatively, though, so there is a, I feel like he's also one of the only players that can do that.
Yeah, true.
Xerox and Kovacs rolling through. Saw their name somewhere near the top beforehand. I think they were near that top 5. Now 9th overall at 118 points. Pay attention to that golden number beside the shield and health bar total. It is top 5 that rolls in. You can also pay attention to the bottom left where you can see the duo mate's name right above him. It says team number 9. It's not a random tag. That is their position on the leaderboard so far. If you see anyone with the number and letters of team number 5 or above, then they are qualifying for the finals right now. 4 places is what Kovacs and Xerox have to climb. Pump spray coming in.
Does really well there to hit that shot. I thought for a moment he was going down. Drops. Wasn't able to stay up though, so unfortunate times. Snazy and Podesai, that is tragic.
Not
It was
again.
all going so well for them in the games leading up to the final 2, but another game where they just go down way too early. That was the 4th place team, and so we'll see if their spot holds, but they won't have much of a say in whether that is the case or not. They go down over at Coney, and that could be heartbreaking for a team that's done so well today.
Yeah, when it comes to Flawless and Mappy overall today, they have just been menaces in these last 2 games, 4 and 5 so far. Taking apart so many top teams, especially towards that 4th and 5th zone. Looks like their battle actually, their hunt starts now in the early game.
Flois and Mappy haven't had the best of days. Obviously, Flois and Mappy did very well in some of the earlier rounds of Qualifier 1, but just haven't quite been able to piece it together. Juriki and iDrop, though, I really hope they have a good game, man. Was talking to iDrop earlier today. He talked about how he has sort of no expectations almost, right? Coming into this round, no expectations, just wanting to keep things chill. Juriki was a bit more excited than him, right? In terms of their chances, but he wanted to make sure that they keep a level head, and I really do believe they've done that today, right? They've been very composed, a team that's very much impressed me in this first qualifier, and I'd love to see them call through. But of course, they have to earn it, and they are a couple points just outside of that top 5, and so we'll see whether they can deliver in this final game.
Yeah, what do iDrop and Jerky need for the moment? They obviously want some of these height teams gone. And Austin Pink might be down for the count in this one. Possibility of that revive coming in or the reboot in just a little bit on the side of Pink. Meanwhile, I think Tayson and Chapix aren't supposed to be allowed to play the game either. Joe and Andy, Hen and Queasy, a lot of these teams that like to prefer high ground need to be gone for Jerky and iDrop to have a solid way in, or they just give up their height takes and play second height, but that's been tough for them so far today, Levin.
Yeah, it's been very difficult in terms of how the high ground battles have gone out. To be fair, iDrop and Jerky have always had a say in them every single game, right? And so that alone, deserves its own credit. But I would love to see this duo get back involved. The high takes we saw in games were so cerebral, so clean, so well executed by them. As well as these guys have done, I wouldn't be surprised if there's been a couple arguments today, knowing these 2 guys. I mentioned it at the start of the show, but you know, they do clash heads at times, and I'm sure some of the more unfortunate games they've had of late maybe have sparked some, but in this final game, they have to be united.
Well, at least they have home turf in this game, right? I think for
Finally.
4 out of 5 games, yeah, we've been in the desert. We got one pull up near the top, which was the last one, but now we're all the way on that north side.
But to be fair, like we sort of mentioned earlier, right, of all the North teams, they're the team that probably won't mind as much, just because they have a means of transport, unlike some of the other ones, right? So
makes a lot more sense, and they don't even have to move that much either. Dark is and Satan as well, 8th overall. I think they've kind of been our poster child for mid-game positioning, and just a safe spot to tune in with the entire day, but also pretty quiet so far. Very close to being inside the top 5. Don't have like the pizzazz, some tag we can put onto them like we are on a bunch of these teams today. But maybe they can finally find that definition, the personality they need, the one big play in this final game to get top 5.
let's take a look at some of the things that have been happening in and around the map. Kami here over at Rocky Rails, forcing his way into Zrox's box and dealing with him appropriately. Mustache now, hitting some shots of his own on Pink. Pink was looking a bit lost there, unfortunately. He goes down. Oof.
Oh, wow.
A clean shot from Axe Force.
These are some chunky striker pumps coming in, just taking away HP pools over and over again. And this is going to be very good for Relphus and Krusty on some of the teams that we saw fall in that replay package. A lot of opponents that have been picking them apart the entire day. They get to live, breathe, and they're in second place looking really good, right beside Grolls and Shizo.
Do you think these guys hold on to their 5th place slot?
See, let's actually answer it from the perspective of casters and analysts. Let's do our job for once. What do they need to stay in 5th place in this game?
Well, to start off with, max materials is nice on Mustache.
Yeah.
They've obviously got decent positioning. I'm assuming they'll be fine on Surge in terms of the off-spawn fight that they had with Pink and Anas.
Yep.
Obviously a pad would help, I'm sure, but I'm not sure if there was one in the other inventory. He didn't have one when we were just watching there.
What I'm thinking from them, right, is they need to get to a point where they can start playing their game. I feel like the one big buff and the one aspect of Mustache and Malabuka that no one can touch, as soon as they hit that 6th zone, 7th zone, they're not playing on anyone else's lair anymore, right? No one's kind of coming to them in a sense. They get to dictate every fight. They get to see every rotation, make pre-edit plays. They get to dictate the pace of the game.
Yeah, one of the keys to why they're so successful in that particular sort of field is the fact that they are so incisive with their decisions, right? Doubt is one of the biggest, you know, sort of problems you can have at the highest level of Fortnite, right? Doubt is huge, and they have none, right? They make all their decisions with such conviction in those moments, and so if they get there, they're always going to be a big threat. And we've seen why, and hopefully we can continue to see why as they push to keep 5th place and even higher. Floki and Clement not looking too comfortable right now.
Trying their best to make something out of this game, but you have to understand everyone that's kind of like in this position, 16th to 22nd place, they not only need this VR, they need so many more eliminations. So as a result, you can already see in this lobby, 2nd zone, only 62 players alive. All these fights breaking out, all these small bases, everyone's trying to get their games ramped up fast. Now, to go back to Mustache and Malabuka, one place where they don't have control is when the game does get very slow. When there's so many people alive and they don't get to choose where to go. Where now they're indecisive rather than decisive, like Levin's saying, where some of the hesitation comes in. It's really good for them and a lot of these teams that are good for late game, like Floki and Clement that you just saw. With so many people going down, there's more room to actually play. There's more room to be passive. You don't have to actually stick your neck out and get that much surge. It's so much better for these late game, mid, low ground teams, and that's exactly the game that Mustache and Malabuka and Floki and Clement play.
Yeah, this is nice. You can see how every position they're taking, they're sort of trying to optimize to make sure that they can keep a high level of materials, refarming on the wood there as well. A metal box just for some added layer of security at this stage in the game. But all round, things are looking really nice for them.
It's really good for Krusty and Relvis as well. I think the only times they've ever gone down is when someone actually shoots at them. When it comes to defending against pressure, I feel like this is one of the teams that gets bullied and tossed around a lot. With less teams in the mix, with people not really going for surge as much, with more quiet on the map, they get to skip a bunch of these problem zones. Meanwhile, Jerky, iDrop, people who like to bully, who like to play that slow form kind of game, go for the big mountainous positions, get tags without box fighting. This might be a different change of pace overall in game number 6. That being said, though, who do they have to take out? I mean, Mustache and Malabuka have to go down. Joins the Andy have to be removed from the equation as well. Snazy and Podosai are already gone, but everyone ahead of them are just so sticky in terms of duos. They don't like to go down early. Even in late game, they end up solo clutching all the way towards that top 10. I'm worried for iDrop and Jerky.
Yeah, they're going to have a really strong game, and especially with how well Tayson and Chapix are setting up, right? We've seen how they've struggled in some of the games in terms of being able to continue to fight for height, right? We've described it as the rounds after rounds, right? Do they have that endurance to go all the way in these fights?
I'm just like, it feels like, as we watch these replays, by the way, Clement and Floki just doing a really good job of waiting out the third party that was Andalex and then turning around this entire fight. Going back to iDrop and Jerky, they only have like one move, which is play for high ground. We haven't seen anything else in their deck of cards. We haven't seen much inside their arsenal other than doing that fine or surviving off of that. Can they make the last minute switch to play?
I don't think they can, and I don't think they should.
Okay.
I think they have their philosophy set, they have their game models set, they understand it well, and I think they should stick to that, right? Because it can be effective, it can work. You know, we literally just saw it work, right?
True.
But at the same time, you have to have that belief. If they don't, again, like it all goes back to what I was saying before about doubt, right? If they don't have that belief in themselves as they go into that final game, into those final moments, you know, what are you here for at the end of the day? So, some key decisions to be had and to be made. Look, Relvis and Krusty, they've had a very consistent mid and early game. Very, very consistent, very secure.
I mean, look at their placements on the day so far. Third, and second in the business. Middle of the day, 19th and 9th. Still not the worst, but yeah, these guys scream consistency. They don't get too active on the eliminations, though, but they are here to stick and play.
They've just been super efficient. They've just been super efficient. And a lot of the teams that will optimize for efficiency in these lobbies do look to try play high. They haven't necessarily done that, but it's still been just as successful as anyone else, right? So, props to them. I don't expect that to change in this game. Tayson and Chapix making use of that IO vehicle that we've been raving on about all day, and they're going to just be able to pick their spot. Need to be careful, right? It is sort of getting towards that side of HP where you consider it low.
They only really need it for like the next zone. I think they're fine after that. But this is, I think, the hot seat. I mean, I've already talked about it so much. This is the only team in trouble, I feel like. I think everyone else's game plan works. It's them against the lobby right now.
And this isn't good. You're going to be forced to a stop there. They are set up nice. They've got a bunch of shields.
Oh my god.
Some white HP. Of course, Jerky takes some damage there, which may be bad. And so that's going to chunk into their shield total a bit, but the big thing here is that the team that's actually holding them, it seems, is Mustache and Malabuka, right? A team that will very much be wanting them to not do well. So we'll see. Malabuka looking for an angle.
It's 4th versus 6th.
Stinger from that range isn't amazing, but it can be annoying to deal with. But you can see that Jerky and iDrop, they just decided we're just going to invest in materials to guarantee our safety into the zone. They tunneled their way in, not taking any risks, and I think that very much will be a theme to watch out for. If somebody does try to take height from them and things get a bit too hot in the kitchen, will they just drop down and leave? Maybe that will be the play.
For
The
Zandy
longer
and
they
Joe.
can stay in their game.
Yeah.
Longer they can stay in the game, the better their hopes are, right? At the end of the day, and I think that will also play into their thought process. Sorry.
Just don't want to overthink. That's all it is. Because in game 6, like that's where the pressure really comes in. So you're right. Just have good beliefs in your values and the philosophy you have in the game, and keep rolling. Some of these philosophies are tougher though to execute than others. What's happening? The Dark is 2 different edits on 2 sides, and you have to assume now there's going to be some communication going back and forth. I've been in this position at Satan too. I'm definitely getting yelled at right now. That's too much.
I know what those comms sound like.
Talking about this team real quick. Up in this base, really raining shots on every single duo across the world. Their secret, Zandy and Joe so far today, has been consistency, but consistency with elims to get towards the top 5. They're kind of just sitting at top 10. They sometimes come 20th, but they're getting close to almost 10 elims in some of these games. 7, 5, 8. An elim heavy playstyle to get into top 5 is really scary to walk in with in the game 6. Because a lot of the time the lobby is smaller and the pressure is really, really high.
Yeah, and it's all about your own convictions, right? You're putting it in your own hands. Shaky and eye drop. Gotta be careful, guys. 182 above. So hopefully they'll be satisfied with that engagement and leave it be. In terms of Zandy and Joe, like you said, they're relying on just being able to hit their shots. And so going into the last game, there's more pressure on them than almost anybody else, right? Because they're not making it that deep into these games.
And then look who's sitting right behind them, like trying to take over, right? It's Jerky, it's Hydra. They want to take down Zandy and Joe. And right after them is Malibuka Mustache. In front of them, Tayson and Chapix on the bottom left. And then we have Relvis and Paradise, Girls and Shizo. 2 of the stickiest duels so far, making so many top spots, seconds and thirds places. Jerky though low, eye drop. Desperate for what is a question, some type of control, positioning, and defense. But they're going straight through so many different heals. There are people under surge around their base trying to find a way in. And eye drops down 2 inventory slots already. The end game hasn't even started.
Yeah, they were looking so healthy at around 3rd zone, and now it's all down. It's really tough. There is some loot here, and so I think some minis they'll be able to grab, but
that's huge.
The materials have dwindled. Their shields are also a lot lower, and so are they even going to be able to play for height in the way that they want to with what they're working with?
iDrop was at 100 metal before and low brick. He just got fully refreshed right there and swapped out the green burst for a mythic. That might be a big change.
You can see Mustache. He's waiting for someone to pad, and it's just not coming. He has his own, but he just wants to use somebody else's, eventually making that decision to drop the pad themselves.
Chapix
Not
and
wanting to
Tayson on
take any
heights.
risks. Yes, Chapix and Tayson. I said I wanted to see them back up here. And look, they might look comfy in terms of qualification, but they won't be satisfied with that. They want 1st place, and I want it for them as well.
Chapix finding a few knocks already off on that high ground. Jerky iDrop moving in, but the finish line for them is getting further and further away. Zandy, who's right ahead of them, has found 1 knock already inside the feed, so that pressure rise, hit your shot play style, already going good for the duo in 5th place on that bubble. Jerky fall from 6th to 7th. That's gonna be tough for them. A mental hit that they can't really see, but we can from our side of the feed. Look at how high Chapix and Tayson are as well. That's insane. Do they even pull the zone? That's a big question.
Yeah, that's going to be huge. Zone's pulling towards tilted, right? And so things are going to start really getting interesting in terms of traversing through some of those builds over there.
You see the blimp, Levin? I see the blimp, and I feel like it's going to be in play. Look at how high ground, or look at how high ground is. Like, I just feel like with the way pads work as well, this is going to get really, really unique.
Yeah, I'm sure Tayson, Chapix, they'll be thinking about that. Doing as much damage as they can. I'm sure they'll be looking to try to recycle that pad. They got the chunk splashes to re-up on the HP when that time comes. Jerky, though, on this side of your screen, they're being forced to play low ground and try and make their rotation in. They haven't got that luxury of a launch pad or a vehicle.
Drive-by.
You can see someone's just trying to get into their box. This is really awkward now. iDrop, Jerky needs your help. You need to get in there, help him out. He's such low HP. Hardfine doing so much to stop him. And iDrop's able to stay up for just a moment. Hardfind eventually goes down. iDrop will win the fight. But that's cost them so much in terms of timing and in terms of HP as well. They still do need to move on just that bit, but it's not going to be an easy path on this layer.
Shizo is down in first place. He's going to be taken out. Not sure if his teammate is still up and alive. But Mustache still providing that pressure. And yes, iDrop was just looking so good as a solo jerky, shaking up inside that box. Look at Mustache and Malibuka though. It just seems like they're playing in their own pocket dimension. So much space. It's peaceful. Meanwhile, Tayson and Chapix at war. Their entire home up top broken down, and they're up inside second height now. So much invested, no metal for the moment, but the beams are still there. Tayson's going for it. They're under in terms of Surge isn't, no, not even. It's just the pressure from the other team. They're getting their shields completely wiped and removed. Have to find some time to back off, play on the defensive and heal.
Of all the teams, you wouldn't have expected Tayson and Chapix to get awareness checked, but that's what happened, and so now they can't play height for the meantime. They're just gonna have to stay below. Their HP is so low, but we know they're comfortable regardless of the layer. We'll see how that develops. iDrop though on the bottom right of your screen only has himself to fight in this game, and eventually he will fall. It won't be enough. They tried so valiantly, but they fell just before the finishing line, and so now Tayson and iDrop will take their places up on low ground. And as the zone continues to move back away from Tilted, people are going to be fighting through their own builds as well as Yandy and Joe just on that 5th place slot. They need to stay in this one as much as they can. The longer they stay in, the better for their chances of going to the finals. That's Krusty and Relvis in front of them. Can they knock out some rivals?
Everyone does not want to go down. So many people still alive. 22 inside this zone, and we move way past city limits. We're going way past out to the suburbs. There's barely even any buildings to be able to hide behind all the way on low ground. Tayson and Chapix still moving in 2nd place. I really want to see Ziandy's perspective. They're the ones in 5th. They're the ones right on the line. Malibuka in 4th are going to be in that position as well. 8th place for Max 3 and Axe Force. They've done some crazy things in terms of just individual fights, and they're looking to just wrap things up still on the top side. Krusty and Relvis have taken over that 1st place slot, come at a huge cost as well though, as they're low on materials, down on low ground. The asphalt all blown up. It's a nuclear war zone for the moment right now, and unfortunately they're gonna go down to the radiation. They are gone. Max still up top. Tayson taken out. Is he gonna have enough to stay in? It looks like it's Ziandy in 4th place currently. They're looking so good. They've survived up until this point. Ziandy taking a little bit of that mist and landing a few shots as well. Will this be enough? Will 161 hold is the question. He's still making it all the way in the zone. He finds his way in. A little bit more time to delay, but how much is left for him? Just 5 HP on that Met and Miss, 30 on the shields overall. Alex Squeeze also being taken out. Malibuka in 3rd, 6th place for Axe Force and Max 3. They need this win. They need the elims as well. Let's see what they can do. I saw a little bit of a point total there. 140 for them. They're so far back behind right now. I don't think it's even possible, but what a ride they had up until this point.
They're going to have to try their best. These last 2 eliminations won't be easy to get. Malibuka and Mustache doing their victory lap. 12 eliminations on the game already. This has been such a performance for them, such a climb. We knew all the struggles they had, all the battles they had to face, but they've taken it on the chin, and they've moved through. And now, as the final fight breaks out, Max 3 will hit a huge shot. It's not the first time we've seen him do that today, but isn't going to be enough, like Shayo said. Now, in a 2v1, Malibuka, we've seen him win situations like this before, where Axe Force and Max 3 can hit the kind of shots we've seen them hit. It'll be easy work. They're knocking him down. They're trying to force him to fight. And you can tell he doesn't want to. Doing some love taps here, just forcing them back down. Trying his best to stay alive in this one as much as he can. Forcing a mistake, if possible. But Maxi and Axe Force, they just got to stay composed, cool, calm, and collected, and keep trying to chop him out. 2 shotguns are better than 1. And you can see they're just going to keep it going, spraying relentlessly.
Another connect from Malibuka. I mean, this duo up top has been so good at just keeping control this entire game. He is 1v2ing with this pressure. They're gonna have to fall at some point to just having no materials whatsoever. Max 3 has a chance for some type of build off. 1 player already down. No way Malibuka does this again. There's just no way he does it. 1v2 in the 6th game of Qual 1. Malibuka, the GOAT. This man is just too much to handle.
Malibuka is an absolute animal. What a player. To close it out with the victory out, 2 versus 1. Oh, dearie me. Yes, it was a heel-off, but he never wavered. The relentless pressure they applied to him in those final moments. We were highlighting it. They just kept spraying. They just wouldn't stop, and he never wilted one bit. And game 6 is theirs. We wanted to know whether or not they'd be able to handle it, competing, contesting over at Command Cavern, and they did more than just handle it. They thrived, they soared, and they are heading to the FNCS finals.
Just absolutely a blowout in terms of the way they've handled every single portion of the competition today. And as Reese and Boop said, they basically only played like half the games, Levin. I mean, if they had all 6, we'd be breaking records.
It is actually unfair what we've been able to see from these guys, and I can't wait to see them competing in the finals. But I want to know who the other teams are that will be competing in the finals, so we're going to kick it to the desk. Shia, it's been an absolute pleasure casting with you today. I can't wait to see you on the next qualifier as well. To everybody in chat, thank you very much, and we'll see you very soon. Desk, hit us up. Who's going to the final?
You know, we'll get there in just a second, Levin. First off, I gotta say thank you to you both, of course, Levin and Shy Wager. Super awesome games, great next level casting abilities. Y'all brought the heat, and so did Europe. I mean, Reese, this last game, those final few moments, it just looked like a shark playing with their food, you know? Just kind of like, I feel like for Malabuka, he was never even worried, right? He's just running around like, okay, yeah, there's 2 of you. Like, I have everything and I need in my loadout. I'm just going to hold you off. Because, like, you could think for a moment he could have been a good guy, right? Like, oh, well, we probably already qualified. Let's just let them get the win. You know, maybe that'll push him into 5th. He's like, nah. I'm just going to make you, it's going to seem like you have a chance. And then I'm just going to rip it away.
Yeah, I mean, I think we always give Malabuka the props that he deserves, I think, on the broadcast. And let's be real. Last season, right, I put him as the best player coming into FNCS. And then, you know, overall FNCS didn't have that big a performance. I was slightly concerned about them coming into this day because, like, they're good in cash cups. They have the potential to do so well, but in FNCS, they just haven't proved themselves. Right now, this is just a dominant sweep. They're just showing why they are probably, will I say it, the best team on the region right now?
Oh,
Wow.
you go again. It's a little bit scary there. I don't know.
Do you disagree?
I mean, you're not wrong. They're definitely the most exciting team to watch, right? And, you know, like you mentioned, they came into this tournament with a little bit of a, you know, a lack of, let's say, momentum. Obviously, they got 6-0 by Pink and Anas in the last Cash Cup. Now, all of a sudden, you know, they did sort of tie with Pink and Anas. And then, you know, in 3 games, they just did this absolute masterclass of Fortnite. Who can even compete with them at this point?
This is both good and bad, right? Like, they secure themselves a spot in finals. That's the good. The bad, this means that they're now in finals, which means we won't get to see them until that point.
I was like, what's bad here?
Listen, I'm gonna get there, don't worry. This means that now other duos can look to compete at the cavern as well, right? So we'll see, but here's your top 5 that have qualified and will be going on through to finals. And I just want to like, if you're tuning in and you're just like, what does that mean, Zeke? Like, what's happening? So we're trying to compete for top 5, and everyone else who does not make it in the top 5 are playing for series points, right? So the game's not over for any of these duos by any means. We still have 2 more qualifiers to either make it in the top 5 or make it high on the series point leaderboard. But congratulations to Joe and ZN, excuse me. They made it into that top 5, followed by Grols and oh my God, Shizo. I confused myself, Reese. Just save me, please.
Don't worry, I got you. In 3rd, we got Relvis and Krusty, a team who popped off. And I was going to say no games, to be honest with you, but they were just super consistent through every single one of them. A team who just had pretty low eliminations, really low, 3.17. I think the lowest in the top 10 out of any of the teams today, but just were really consistent all the way through. In 2nd, you know them, Tayson and Champix. And then, of course, in 1st, Mustache Malabuka. So that means the first top 2 teams are both Command Cavern teams. So that's them now out. So when we see the next qualifier come, Sunday? Yeah, we're going to probably see a little bit difference going on here. Different teams, you know?
And that always makes finals a little bit more spicy, because if the top teams for Command Cavern are making it through, it probably means that we're going to have a few more going into the finals as well. And that's always going to be really, really scary. I want to touch really quickly, though, on Ziani and Joe. You know, that was a duo made out of the big snaking that happened in EU. We mentioned at the start of the show, Thomas HD and Tayson, splitting up from each other. Now, 2 of them are qualified. Ziandi, who used to play with Chapix, qualified. Chapix, who used to play with Ziandi, now qualified with Tayson. And now the question is, will there be more of those Command Cavern teams coming through?
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. Yes, I think thinking an Ant's going to qualify at some point. No reason. Pano may even make it through as well at some point. They've, both players performed really well last season, seem to be doing well this season. So the Command Cavern teams definitely. I think like Zandy picking on him right now from what we just saw. This is like a perfect solo clutch. Zandy is known as the clutcher for a good reason, and that was it right there. The solo clutch to take him up till 5th. Up ahead of the 6-point team, which, we'll see how many points they're on in a second when that whole graphic comes up from that point. But great qualification through, good clutch from Zandy.
Yeah, definitely, especially in the qualifier 1, right? To kind of hit the ground running is where you want to be. Because remember, we are playing for those series points, right? So if you can't make it in the top 5, that's okay. Let's still fire as hard as we can, get as high up those standings as we can, because we're still accruing series points. Here's our look at our overall standings. How are you guys feeling about that 6th place to 10th place? Boop, I want to start with you.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the math. Like we mentioned, my math isn't my best suit, but I'm pretty sure Malibu Commercials just took away Axe Forces and Max's qualification. Unless I'm wrong, I think that is probably the worst way to go about it. But yeah, the top 10 here, definitely names you would expect. Polyside and Stacey, iDrop and Jerky. They had their games. They weren't hyped a lot of the times, but couldn't really battle it with some of the big boys on top. So maybe come next week, we'll see them qualifying.
Just to confirm, if they won that game, they would not have managed to qual. So it would have been one more elimination point, so another 3, and then 4 for the victory. So no, but regardless, I actually want to give huge props out to Maxry, who is Yusri on Twitter. I made to look for his proper name. I think Maxry, just to make sure he's hitting the maximums, and he absolutely has been. There was a fantastic 1v2 moment that we saw earlier on against Floking Clement, which clutched them massive points. And then even in that end game, we saw maximum after maximum. So that aim looking real crisp right now. Oh, also, we didn't see the floss from Juriki. It's out there. Just saying that.
It is out there
I'm
somewhere.
ready to see it. I'm ready to see it.
Somewhere out there. Let's take a look at the next page over here to see where players placed in that 11th through 20th. And I think here it's not that far apart, right? We're talking top to bottom, right around 40 points, give or take a few points. Forgive my math. I never learned how to read, write, or add. I'm just going to keep adding to this list, by the way. But still, once again, players that I just wouldn't expect to see on this second page, right? I'm looking at Floki and Clement, my prediction. And Alex and X-Squeeze, right? Pink and Anas, just to throw 3 names out there. What can we do to prepare for next week, Reese?
I mean, firstly, you got 2 days to do it, right? So you got to start tomorrow. So
I'm sorry, next time, not
next next week. You already think some of these teams might qualify through on Sunday, right? So qualifier 2 starts tomorrow. They've got like the first 2 rounds there, so they don't have much time to start to actually prep, right? So it's like tonight. These guys don't go to bed at 10 o'clock, right? So we know that they've got a couple hours today to just figure out what were the mistakes that we made today, what actually went wrong, was it early, mid, late game, where were we making the full errors? So figure that out today, and then just stop thinking about it, move on, and start focusing on the next qualifier.
Yeah, they already made it to finals once, right? So you don't have to change it up too much, but when it comes to a finals, they're going to have a little bit of a different situation, and just those micro adjustments could make the difference between making the finals this season.
I love it. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me and breaking down all the action. Reese and Boop, you incredible humans. Make sure you guys at home give them a follow and give Shy Witcher and Levin2K a follow. That wraps up the EU region. Once again, if you like what you're seeing, you're like, dude, I absolutely want to see more. Don't worry, we have any East and any West later on in the day, so come back for that. Before we say goodbye, let's take a look at our predictions. Let's see how we did. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, I didn't do great. Classic Zeke, I don't get my predictions right. I'm so sorry. But it happens. Okay, Reese, Boop, explain, please.
No comment.
Yeah.
Go next.
Let's not talk about it.
Really?
No. Let's be real. Let's
talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, so they had the first 3 zones full south. And I know, firstly, right, we know Queasy, we know Hen, mentality can be thrown off pretty substantially. So for them, if they had a kind of a rocky first couple games, it's going to be really hard for them to get the mentality back on roll. So, I think either on Sunday or the next qualifier, depends how they play. If they have a good first couple games, it's like that's a qualification for them because they're going to keep that momentum up.
Yeah, and we did mention it, right? The last tournament that they played, the Duo Cash Cup, they got 12th place, so they're still going to micro-adjust to the lack of cars in their draw spot. Different kind of meta, but, they'll come back stronger. They're one of those teams that are not going to give up, and they'll be here again next week. Sorry, not next week, Sunday.
I know, I did the same thing, right? So we had added an additional qualifier. That's what we're so used to saying next week, but it's really just in 2 days. So, hey, more Fortnite, more FaceTime with us. Really, it's more FaceTime with Reese and Boop because who cares about me? Fortnite fam,
I do.
That is it. Thank you.
I don't know if Boop does, but I do, yeah.
Depends on the day.
You love to see it. Fortnite fam, that's it from us today. Remember, 2 days week from now, we come back for the next qualifier. Next week, we come back for the last one. We're here for semifinals and finals. We love you all so very dearly. Legends Landing, if you're watching from there, we love you all too. Thanks for hanging out. We appreciate that. Until next time, we'll see you on that battle bus. Beep, beep! Woo!